Hello, everyone. My name is Tom, and I'm one of the co-founders of Cogny. And today we're going to look through the workflow of Cogny Cloud that many of you have asked for. So we'll start here on our first page and look through some case studies, because, of course, we want to know the kind of effect that Cogny Cloud can give. So growthhackers.se is a growth agency, and basically in about 1 month's time, we managed to grow organic clicks by 271%, double the click-through rate, and increase the AI citation measured through Bing Webmaster Tools, which is one of the only official places where you can get AI citations data. And we can look at kind of the way or the workflow that we use to get to these results. So we jump into the Cogny interface. Let's start at settings. So when you set up a Cogny Cloud account, Cogny will basically generate some open context. As you can see here, you have some industry context. This is automatically generated. You can edit this if you like, or you can keep it as is. Cogny also generates some company information and some competitor analysis. These can also be changed, and they are used to kind of steer or guardrail the AI towards more relevant insights. When you have your AI context ready, you can also add your own kind of internal context through the context tree. So here you can add whatever you want. For example, growthhackers.se has added a list of all their historic clients and the LTV, which is good for the Cogny agents to know about and understand. But you can add any context you like here, basically. When you've done with the context part, you can then start to connect your data. There are different ways to connect data. For example, Cogny has a Google Cloud project underneath that you can connect any data and make kind of raw data available for the Cogny agents. Or you can use the Cogny MCPs. As you see here, we have lots of them. And you can also kind of, if you have an external MCP, you can also use that. The way that most MCPs are connected are through OAuth. So you basically connect here, you authenticate with your account. You then get a set of tools available for Cogny. These tools can be like these first here, read tools, where Cogny basically can read data from the Google Ads account, but it can also do execution, so changing campaign status and look at campaign budgets, change bidding strategy, and so on. You can choose what level of automation you want here. Either you have auto approve or you have ask first. And this goes for Meta Ads, Google Analytics, and so forth. Some of these are just pasting an API token. So you go into, in this case, GetANewsletter UI, generate an API token, and paste it here. And then Cogny will have access to the API and be able to do changes, depending on, of course, the API's capabilities. When you've connected your MCPs and generated your context, you can then go to kind of the report view. Here we can see the live reports that we have. They are generated weekly. You also get a set of recommended reports that you can activate if you like, or you can generate your own by just writing a prompt, create a report name, and then this report will be run every week. So if we take a look at let's take SEO performance signals, you can see that the way that Cogny works is kind of that the thinking happens here on the left, and then it generates a kind of insight view here on the right. And as you can see, we're using the context previously generated and also have a pretty long instructions on how to generate these insights. And then Cogny starts to think. It looks at, in this case, it's an SEO performance signal report. So it then starts to look at relevant data sets. It finds the Search Console interface or data set and some other data sets here, starts to drill down to the table, search data site impression, and so on. After it's completed its research, it then presents an insight here So we can see that organic growth is real, as we saw in the case study. Positioning improves from 40 plus to 17 in 12 months. And this is basically the late when we launched Cogny on that site. But we do see a little bit of a drop here in clicks. And then we can read here that the total impression actually increased from 25,000 to 26,000 in the week of April 27th. Yet clicks dropped from 207 to 161. That's a CTR collapse from around 1% to 0.6%. Not a ranking failure. The root cause. The Cloud keyword drove 87 impressions per day at position 2 to 3 with 5% CTR during April, 10 to 23. Then fell to 10 impressions. So, I mean, it could be that it was a very high Cloud period, and that's kind of fading down. So, you can read these insights. There's quite a lot. It also gives you some recommendations on things that we should do to fix and improve the situation for SEO. We go back to the reports. We have other things like structural data is also kind of SEO related, but you also have like content intelligence, you have Google Ads, SEM, and as you can see, you have different reports here depending on what data sets you've connected. You have meta ads, and so on. So, of course, you could sit here and read this, and some clients actually use these to basically automatically analyze their marketing performance and campaigns, because, of course, that usually takes a lot of time. You can also kind of set these reports to be sent out daily, weekly, so there you get them in like an email format, and you can log in and kind of understand what's going on pretty quickly. But what we found out is that as Cogny generates so much insights, it would be nice to have an agent that can actually read all these insights and prioritize the actions. So we've created something we call the ticket view. And here you can see that it has structured or read the insights, and it has then kind of presented it in a more actionable view. So here, for example, it wants to pause quality score 1 keywords in Google Ads. Makes sense. I think this is kind of interesting because, as we saw in the report, we're getting a lot of impressions and clicks on the AI Cloud content pages, but apparently there isn't that many conversions coming from those content pieces. So Cogny has then a recommendation to add book a free audit call to action inside those articles. And you can read here and kind of understand, is this what I want to do? You can refine the ticket if you don't agree with the instructions. But I think it's fine. I can also kind of check the source reports here if I want to go deeper and understand why Cogny suggests this. But I'm fine with this, and I'll go ahead and run the coding agent. I have to choose the repo, and then Cogny will go ahead and start coding these changes right away. For those of you who aren't kind of used to these kind of GitHub or pull request scenario, Cogny can create a pull request, which means like adding a suggestion to the code base. It doesn't go directly out into production, and then a developer can review it, or you will get a, I'll give you an example here. Cogny will generate a preview. So this is before the page has gone out into production. I can click on that. Just have to understand what page we're talking about here. This is the URL. So this page is basically 100% generated from the code base that we have access to. And it is written a little bit of what the Growth Hacker as a growth agency does, what is growth management, what's included in the service, how does a growth process deliver, a little bit of FAQ here, looks nice, some cross-linking, and then related services, book a call. Yeah, I think this looks pretty good, actually. Oop. So then I can go ahead and merge that PR. This basically puts it into production. You can do it yourself from here, or you can have kind of a developer on your team to do it from GitHub. Cogny also works with other CMSs like WordPress and Webflow, Shopify, etc. So it can commit to those sources as well. And yeah, so that's the basic workflow. And of course, Cogny doesn't just only work in SEO. It does work on paid channels, email campaigns, and so on. We have some CRM stuff up in here. And I think the way to use this is basically that you get these recommended actions from Cogny, and you don't have to, agree with all of them. Like, for example, here, LinkedIn content program, 2 posts a week from founders. I mean, that's a pretty good recommendation, but I don't have time for that. So I'm going to reject that and say, founders have very little time. And then Cogny will remember that, so it won't continue to suggest these changes. And as these changes go through the Kanban board here, you can see that they end up in what's called analysis. So here Cogny tries to analyze the impact of the change. And as you can see here, it has done the implementation verification, the page is live, but the business impact is kind of too early to measure. We're getting some impressions here, but yeah, not more than that. So it has basically rescheduled itself to run a new analysis 5th of June. And we can take a look at a done ticket. So here it's basically concluded the analysis and said that this new page for marketing agency is submitted and indexed. We can see that it's gaining impressions and clicks, which is good. It also improved the quality score of the search term marketing agency in Google Ads. So the quality score moved from a baseline 1 to 3, which is kind of standard for a new keyword, to up to 5. That can, of course, be improved further, but it's a lot better to be at 5 and 1 to 3. That's a kind of a little bit of a cross-channel analysis, and which Cogny thinks is fairly successful or partial success. And it also kind of mapped out what we should think about in the future. And when Cogny generates new tickets, it will read these tickets as well to pick up the recommendations for next step. And by doing this, and of course running as many experiments as you can, you basically build out a little bit of a database of things that works and things that does not work. And that's basically the whole idea, to run as many experiments as you can and figure out what works for your particular business. So that, I think, concludes today's workflow demo. There's a lot more things you can do with Cogny. Let us know. I'll be happy to do another demo. And we can do some shorter, kind of more targeted for specific use cases as well. But I hope you have a wonderful day. If you want to book a meeting to go through a demo with us, we are happy to onboard you. I'll post the link down to our Google Calendars down below. Yeah, have a lovely day. Thank you very much.